So my name is Jonathan Jansen. I spend the mornings at a high school that is dysfunctional, struggling to get on its feet, from 6:30 to 1. And then at 1, I drive 40 k's to Stellenbosch University for my paid job, where I am a professor of education. Well, to be honest, I didn't want to become a teacher initially. I wanted to become a biochemist. My goal initially was to become a teacher, pay off the bursary, and then become a biochemist. However, when I stepped into a classroom and I tried to explain, I remember the first lesson very clearly, it was the concept of pH. And the moment I started to teach that stuff and I saw the impact on children, I saw how the frown disappeared, I saw how the smile of recognition came about, and I said, I'm a teacher, this is what I must do. So I never went back, even if I could have, to experimental science. I just thought to myself, making complex things simple is what I want to do, and to do that in the classroom. Whether you an astronaut or whether you a bench scientist, all of you came through a teacher in primary school and a teacher in high school, so we know that, right? But once you become a teacher yourself, it's not that you will do teaching for the rest of your life. Most people do, but myself, for example, once I did teaching, I understood that I could study further, so I also teach at a university. And the best teachers, by the way, and the best professors at university were those who were teachers in their previous lives. If you think of education, right, which is my broad field, there are people who do education policy. In others, they work in government, they design policy, they evaluate policy, so there's education policy. Then there's education management, people who simply work with school managers, such as your SMT in a school, the school management team, such as your principal, such as your governing body. There's education management. Then there's educational administration, that is people who work in different parts of government, for example, with systems, systems for managing leave, managing absence, managing, etc. Then there are people who work in educational evaluation, that is, they work as consultants and they evaluate educational programs. So there's many different branches of work, that is available to somebody who has an education degree. It doesn't mean, as I said before, you're only doing teaching. There are people who do science promotion, science education, science development, people who write and manage science journals like Quest. It's a journal that is meant to bring science, but that is a skill. You don't just write up an article. For Quest, you have to sort of say, how do I make this practical? How do I add in an experiment? So there are people who love being authors, right, of science. Science journalists, they are often called. There are many different things you can do. Once you have the basic degree, you could specialize in all those occupational areas. The Cape Flats is where I grew up in. I went to schools on the Cape Flats. I still have family members who live there. In fact, the school I work in is right next to the family home in a place called Retreat. And so you became aware in my early teens that the stakes were higher, that you could, become like everybody else there and struggle all your life, and even worse, be a victim of alcoholism and drugs and all that stuff. And the only way to get out of those situations is through education. It's as simple as that. It's a teacher who said to me one day, because I was fairly average at high school, junior high, the teacher said to me, come here, you play soccer all the time, but you have potential. You hide your talent. Nobody had told me that before. It completely changed my life. I never came second in class ever again. Same person, but a different message hit my senses. And that's also partly why I teach. And I tell students, as I would tell any students, including those listening to this video, you are much smarter than you think. Your biggest problem is that you don't know how good you are. Now, not all of us are going to be smart in math and science. Others will be smart in arts and culture. Others will be smart in sports, in athletics. Find out what you're really smart at and what you're really good at and what you really enjoy doing, and go for it. Don't go for second best. Be the best in whatever you pursue.